Have you ever felt like you're speaking a completely different language? You say one thing, a simple, logical statement, and the woman you're talking to hears something entirely different. Or perhaps you've made a gesture you thought was a clear sign of affection, only to be met with confusion, or worse, the exact opposite reaction you intended. It's a quiet frustration that echoes in the minds of millions of men, a feeling that has led to a billion-dollar industry of advice and one simple, yet profoundly misleading, conclusion: women are complicated. But what if I told you that's not true? What if women aren't an unsolvable riddle, but rather a complex, yet deeply consistent, operating system? The problem isn't that they're complicated, it's that most men are trying to understand them with the wrong user manual. This isn't another video with cheap pickup lines or manipulative tricks designed to get a short-term result. Frankly, you're better than that, and she is too. The promise of our time together today is something far more valuable. We're going to hand you the correct user manual. We're going to decode the psychological principles that guide female behavior, communication, and attraction. This is about genuine understanding, not manipulation. It's about building a foundation of knowledge that will allow you to navigate your interactions with women, whether it's a first date or a 10-year marriage, with confidence, empathy, and profound success. Because when you finally understand the why behind her actions, the what to do next becomes incredibly clear. So, get ready to look beyond the surface. In the next few minutes, we'll explore the real science of how attraction ignites, moving past looks and into the realm of the subconscious. We'll uncover the secrets hidden within female communication, learning to hear what's said between the lines. We'll tackle the often misunderstood dynamics of age and attraction, and finally, we'll build the most important bridge of all, the one that connects emotional intimacy to physical desire. Let's begin. Let's start by dismantling one of the most pervasive myths in romance, the thunderbolt of love at first sight. Movies, songs, and stories have sold us this idea that attraction is an instantaneous, almost magical event. You see her across the room, time slows down, and you just know. While that makes for a great movie scene, it's a poor representation of how attraction works for the vast majority of people, especially for women. Attraction is rarely a lightning strike. More often, it's a slow, warming fire, kindled by a powerful psychological principle called the mere exposure effect. This principle, backed by decades of research, is elegantly simple. We develop a preference for things merely because we are familiar with them. It's like a song you hear on the radio. The first time, you might not even notice it. The third time, you find it mildly annoying. By the 10th time, you're humming the melody in the shower. The song hasn't changed, but your exposure to it has. Your brain has moved it from the category of unfamiliar and potentially threatening to familiar and safe. The same thing happens with people. A man who is consistently and positively present in a woman's environment, the guy from her gym, the colleague from another department, the friend in her social circle, builds a foundation of familiarity. He becomes a known quantity. This isn't about being in her face constantly. It's about being a reliable, non-threatening presence. This slow burn of familiarity often does far more to build genuine attraction than a single, grand, dramatic gesture from a complete stranger ever could. This is the proximity principle in action. We are statistically more likely to form relationships with people we see and interact with regularly. So, the first psychological fact is this: attraction isn't always about the grand entrance. It's often about the quiet, consistent presence. Now, once that familiarity is established, another, even more powerful force comes into play: the psychology of similarity. The old saying, opposites attract, is another piece of romantic fiction that needs clarification. While it might be true for complementary personality traits, an adventurous person might be drawn to a more stable partner, an extrovert to an introvert, it is fundamentally untrue when it comes to the things that matter most: core values, worldviews, and life goals. Think of it this way: our deepest values are the very lens through which we see the world. When we meet someone who shares that lens, it's profoundly validating. It feels like coming home. When a woman discovers that a man shares her sense of humor, her passion for a particular cause, her spiritual beliefs, or her fundamental vision for what a good life looks like, it creates a powerful subconscious bond. It sends a message that says, "You get me. I am safe to be myself with you." This isn't about pretending to like everything she likes. Inauthenticity is repulsive. It's about genuinely connecting on a level of shared principles. This creates a sense of deep psychological comfort and becomes the fertile ground from which respect, admiration, and eventually attraction grow. Men who focus on showcasing their flashy car or expensive watch are playing a different game entirely. They're trying to impress, not connect. But the man who reveals, through conversation and action, that he shares her fundamental view of the world isn't just impressing her, he's making her feel understood. And in the language of female psychology, to be understood is to be seen, and to be seen is the first step to being desired. If feeling understood is the foundation of attraction, then communication is the architecture you build upon it. And it is here that one of the most significant psychological divergences between men and women often occurs. Most men are taught to communicate with words, to value logic, and to treat conversation as a direct exchange of information. But that's only half of the conversation. Women are often socialized to be masters of the unspoken language, the subtle, nuanced world of nonverbal communication. To truly understand her, you must learn to listen with your eyes. A significant portion of a woman's message isn't in what she says, but in how she says it. Her tone of voice, the pace of her speech, the way she holds eye contact, these are not decorative elements, they are data. They are the emotional context that gives her words their true meaning. When you're talking, is she leaning in, subtly closing the distance between you? That's a sign of engagement and interest. Are her arms crossed tightly, or is her body angled away? That's a wall, a signal of discomfort or disinterest, no matter how polite her words are. Pay close attention to her smile. A polite, social smile engages only the mouth. It's a courtesy. But a genuine smile, what psychologists call a Duchenne smile, is involuntary. It reaches all the way up to her eyes, creating crinkles at the corners. That smile is a window. It's a genuine expression of joy and comfort in your presence. Men who only listen to the words are missing the music. They're reading the black and white text of a book, but ignoring all the rich, colorful illustrations that tell the real story. This leads us to a revolutionary concept in gender communication, popularized by linguist Deborah Tannen, the difference between report talk and rapport talk. For many men, the primary purpose of conversation is report talk. It's about conveying facts, exchanging information, asserting status, and solving problems. It's efficient and goal-oriented. For many women, the primary purpose of conversation is rapport talk. It's a way of establishing connections and negotiating relationships. It's about sharing experiences and emotions to build intimacy and a sense of community. Here is the classic scenario where this difference creates a massive disconnect. A woman comes home from work and says, "I had such a stressful day. My boss is putting so much pressure on me, and I don't know how I'll get everything done." The man, operating in report talk, here's a problem that needs fixing. His brain immediately starts generating solutions. "Why don't you talk to HR?" he might say. "You should delegate some of that work, or just tell him it's too much." He thinks he's being helpful, supportive, and loving. But to his shock, she becomes withdrawn, frustrated, or even angry. Why? Because she wasn't making a report. She was establishing rapport. She wasn't looking for a consultant. She was looking for a co-conspirator. She was extending an emotional invitation for him to join her in her feeling space. When he jumps to solutions, he is implicitly dismissing her feelings. He is, without realizing it, communicating your feeling of stress is a problem to be eliminated, so here's how to get rid of it. What she truly wants to hear first is, "Wow, that sounds incredibly stressful. I'm so sorry you had to go through that today. Tell me more about it." This response validates her emotion. It tells her she's not alone. He's trying to fix the car, while she just wants him to sit in the passenger seat for a moment, hold her hand, and say, "I understand how frustrating this is." Once she feels that emotional connection, once rapport is established, then, and only then, might she be open to discussing solutions. Mastering the shift from report to rapport is like learning a communication superpower. It is the key to unlocking a deeper level of trust and intimacy than you ever thought possible. There is perhaps no topic more filled with stereotypes and speculation than the role age plays in attraction. The classic image of the older, successful man with a younger woman is so common it's become a cultural cliché. But to dismiss this dynamic as a simple transaction is to ignore the profound psychological currents running beneath the surface. To understand it, we must first look at the ancient script of human evolution and then see how the modern world has rewritten it. From a purely evolutionary standpoint, the theory is straightforward. For millennia, a man's value as a partner was tied to his ability to provide and protect. This often correlated with age, more time to accumulate resources, wisdom, and status. A woman's value was often tied to her youth and health, as these were indicators of fertility and the ability to bear healthy offspring. This ancient wiring still hums in the background of our modern minds. It's a part of our primal operating system. However, to believe this is the only, or even the primary, driver of attraction today is a massive oversimplification. In the 21st century, the definition of resources has fundamentally changed. In a world where women are more educated, ambitious, and financially independent than ever before, the concept of a male provider is no longer just about a bank account. The most valuable resource a man can offer is no longer purely financial. It is emotional. The true currency of attraction is stability, but not just fiscal stability. It's emotional stability. It's the wisdom that comes from experience, the calm that comes from having weathered storms, and the purpose that comes from a life lived with intention. A man's age doesn't make him attractive. The maturity he has hopefully cultivated during that time does. This brings us to what is perhaps the single most potent aphrodisiac a man can possess, a quality that transcends age, looks, and income: emotional maturity. What does that actually mean? It means he is self-aware. He knows his own strengths, weaknesses, and emotional triggers, and he isn't afraid to own them. It means he can regulate his emotions. He doesn't fly into a rage when frustrated or crumble into insecurity when challenged. He is a calm port in a storm, not the storm itself. It means he takes radical responsibility for his life, his actions, and his happiness. He doesn't blame the world, his past, or her for his problems. Why is this so powerfully attractive? Because it creates the ultimate foundation for a relationship: psychological safety. In the presence of an emotionally mature man, a woman can finally relax. She can be her full, authentic self, vulnerable, imperfect, and real, without fear of triggering an unpredictable emotional reaction. She doesn't have to walk on eggshells. She doesn't have to manage his feelings for him. This sense of safety is intoxicating. For a younger woman, an older, emotionally mature man can represent a sanctuary of wisdom and calm in a world that often feels chaotic. And for an older, established woman, a younger man who demonstrates this same level of maturity is a rare and precious find, combining the best of both worlds: youthful energy and old soul depth. Age gaps are not the story. The real story is the universal, timeless attraction to emotional maturity. We now arrive at the most intimate part of our journey, the nexus where all these psychological principles, attraction, communication, and emotional maturity converge. We're talking about physical intimacy, and the path to a woman's desire is rarely a straight line. For many men, desire is a relatively simple switch, often triggered by visual cues. For many women, desire is a far more complex symphony, and the conductor of that orchestra is her mind. The most crucial psychological fact a man can ever learn about female desire is this: the greatest prelude to physical intimacy is emotional security. A woman's body is not disconnected from her mind. For her to truly open up physically, she must first feel safe to open up emotionally. The brain is, without question, the largest and most important sexual organ. When a man creates a space of trust, respect, and consistent emotional validation, he is doing more to arouse her than any physical touch could. Every time he listens with empathy instead of judgment, Every time he celebrates her successes, every time he comforts her without trying to fix her, he is engaging in the most profound form of foreplay. He is communicating on a deep subconscious level, "You are safe with me. All of you is welcome here." This environment of safety is what allows a woman to shed the armor she wears to navigate the world. It allows her to be vulnerable, to let go of control, and to surrender to the moment. Without that feeling of safety, physical intimacy can feel like just a mechanical act, a performance. With it, it becomes an expression of a deep, pre-existing connection. Think of it like a beautiful, rare flower. You cannot force the petals to open. You can't pry them apart. Any attempt to do so will only damage it. All you can do is provide the right conditions, the rich soil of trust, the warm sunlight of admiration, the gentle water of consistent affection, and then, when it feels safe and nourished, it will bloom for you on its own. Now, this brings us to a fascinating paradox. The same woman who craves emotional safety may also whisper that she wants a man who is a little bad in the bedroom. How do we reconcile the need for a safe sanctuary with the desire for a wild, untamed experience? The answer lies in the powerful concept of energetic polarity. Within the safe, consensual container of a trusting relationship, a woman often craves for her partner to embody a confident, dominant, masculine energy. The badness she desires is not cruelty, disrespect, or selfishness. That is the behavior of a boy, not a man, and it shatters the very foundation of safety we just discussed. The badness she craves is the unapologetic confidence of a man who knows what he wants and is not afraid to lead. It's the freedom of being with a partner who can take charge, make decisions, and guide the experience with a loving, yet firm, hand. This allows her to step out of the decision-making, problem-solving role she may occupy all day and fully surrender into her feminine energy to simply receive and experience pleasure. He is the strong riverbank that allows the river of her passion to flow freely and wildly, knowing she will always be safely contained. This is the ultimate dance of intimacy. The man creates a fortress of emotional safety with his empathy and respect, and within the walls of that fortress, he is free to be the confident, dominant king, and she is free to be the receptive, expressive, and completely untamed queen. Now, creating that fortress of emotional safety is the most important role you can play. But I also want to acknowledge that for many men, the challenge isn't emotional, it's purely physical. It's the crushing feeling when your body just won't cooperate, no matter how strong the connection is. If you're one of the millions of men who feels like his body is betraying him, who struggles to maintain the rock-hard erections of his youth, then I've got something crucial for you to see. It's a special, private presentation that reveals a bizarrely simple, all-natural home remedy that thousands of men are now using to restore their sexual vitality, often in a matter of days. It targets the hidden root cause of the problem in a way that nothing else does. To watch it right now, just open the camera on your phone and point it at the QR code you see on your screen. I've also pinned the direct link right at the top of the comments below this video. This is a physical solution to a physical problem, and it can be the final piece of the puzzle. As we draw our journey to a close, let's gather the powerful truths we've uncovered. We have moved far beyond the simplistic and often misleading advice that saturates our culture. We've learned that true attraction isn't a spark of magic, but a slow-burning fire built on the steady foundations of familiarity and genuine, value-based connection. We've discovered that effective communication is not about winning an argument or even solving a problem, but about learning to listen with your eyes and your heart, hearing the emotional music playing beneath the words by understanding the language of rapport. We've deconstructed the complex role of age, realizing that while evolutionary echoes remain, the single most attractive quality a man can possess is a timeless one: emotional maturity, the calm, responsible core that creates a sanctuary of psychological safety. And finally, we've seen how this very safety becomes the bridge to true intimacy, creating a sacred space where a woman can feel secure enough to surrender to a man whose confident, loving leadership allows her to be fully, wildly herself. If you take only one thing away from our time together, let it be this: The ultimate key to understanding and connecting with women is not a set of techniques, but a single, cultivated quality: empathy. It is the ability to momentarily step outside of your own experience and see the world through her eyes, to feel the world with her heart. This is not a skill you are born with, it is a muscle you build. So, my challenge to you is not to simply remember these facts, but to apply them. In your very next conversation with an important woman in your life, make a conscious choice. Instead of formulating a response while she's talking, just listen. Instead of trying to fix her problem, try to feel her feeling. Don't seek to be interesting, seek to be interested. Make it your mission not just to be heard, but to truly hear. Do this one small thing, and you will begin to wield the most powerful force in human relationships: the profound, transformative magic of genuine connection. As we draw our journey to a close, let's gather the powerful truths we've uncovered. We have moved far beyond the simplistic and often misleading advice that saturates our culture. We've learned that true attraction isn't a spark of magic, but a slow-burning fire built on the steady foundations of familiarity and genuine, value-based connection. We've discovered that effective communication is not about winning an argument or even solving a problem, but about learning to listen with your eyes and your heart, hearing the emotional music playing beneath the words by understanding the language of rapport. We've deconstructed the complex role of age, realizing that while evolutionary echoes remain, the single most attractive quality a man can possess is a timeless one: emotional maturity, the calm, responsible core that creates a sanctuary of psychological safety. And finally, we've seen how this very safety becomes the bridge to true intimacy, creating a sacred space where a woman can feel secure enough to surrender to a man who's confident. Loving leadership allows her to be fully, wildly herself. If you take only one thing away from our time together, let it be this: the ultimate key to understanding and connecting with women is not a set of techniques, but a single, cultivated quality: empathy. It is the ability to momentarily step outside of your own experience and see the world through her eyes, to feel the world with her heart. This is not a skill you are born with, it is a muscle you build. So, my challenge to you is not to simply remember these facts, but to apply them. In your very next conversation with an important woman in your life, make a conscious choice. Instead of formulating a response while she's talking, just listen. Instead of trying to fix her problem, try to feel her feeling. Don't seek to be interesting, seek to be interested. Make it your mission not just to be heard, but to truly hear. Do this one small thing, and you will begin to wield the most powerful force in human relationships: the profound, transformative magic of genuine connection.